Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one. Right off the back of my other video where I talked about the Republic gunship, I had a few comments which I'd like to address. One of them was about the fact that we could have this in a Haslab. I do not agree. This is the 2002 Republic gunship. They gave you that pretty much more or less. I think it was exactly the same in the vintage collection, except for the fact that it came with two glass turrets. So why would you make that a Haslab? Unless they were to make it bigger, but I think the scale of that, actually, it's a big piece, that, man. The scale of that is satisfactory, you know? But the one thing that I have had on my mind for a while is what will be the next Haslab, and I want to talk to you about that right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about that right over there, and I'm going to take it off the shelf. It's the Shuttle Tydirium. It's always been on my list of things for them to do, but I'm hopefully in this video going to tell you why. And it is for this reason alone. The Shuttle Tydirium is the only vehicle, significant one from the original trilogy anyway, that has not been upscaled. Now this here is the Millennium Falcon, a classic piece from the 1980s. This isn't from the 1980s, this is the big Millennium Falcon, which first came out in 2008. In fact, that's the Legacy Collection one right there. And it was a brilliant piece, way bigger, 2.5 feet long, and it could accommodate 4 people in the cockpit. This one here is the Vintage Collection one for the Galaxy's Edge Falcon, which is a lovely, lovely piece to look at. Beautiful, exactly the same vehicle. It has its faults, mind, but in terms of how it looks, it's fantastic. It's got a beautiful, I call it a wash of dirt or weathering all over it. And I love this. It's probably one of my favourite things to look at in this room. I haven't even finished it. I've got stickers I need to put in this, but it's just an awesome piece. Then you've got the ATA, another vehicle I had when I was a kid in the 80s, but this is the, I want to say the Legacy Collection ATA, but it isn't. This is the, I think it is Shadows of the Dark Side. It also came out in TVC in an Empire Strikes Back box, which would fetch a lot of money right now. And it also came out in the Return of the Jedi box for the sort of like the Endor, because there is one stomping around on Endor, round about the landing platform. That's got chocolate feet, which is not very good. There's a few random figures just on the table there. I've been filming with them recently, but there you go. That's got the normal feet. So that's the Empire Strikes Back Battle of Hoth version. And that also has been upscaled because it has space for 4. The one in the 80s only had space for 2 pilots. This one has space for more. You can obviously have the 2 pilots and you've got your Veers or whoever in the back. That's been upscaled. Now the other vehicle that they had in the 80s was the Shuttle Tydirium, which was always a big piece. I never had it in the 80s. I had a Falcon and I had an ATA. But this is the main big one that they never did. Oh yes, they got Slave One as well there, which has been nicely upscaled as well since the days of old, I believe. This is it now. I'm going to get this off the shelf so we can have a closer look at it. And here it is. And you know what? I was slightly mistaken by this vehicle because it's so big. I thought that this shuttle here, which is the 2006 version of it, and they brought it out in 2002 for the Attack of the Clones line, and maybe somewhere else, I don't know. But this one in particular was good because it was nicely weathered. Now, as you'll see, or I saw when I was watching reviews for it before I bought it, I thought, right, they've made a big vehicle just like they did for the Millennium Falcon and for the ATA, you know, the 2 Legacy Collection era ones in 2008. But no, apparently this is the 1980s mold, and they have used this more than once since the 1980s. In fact, if you open this up, as I never had a shuttle in the 80s, I think I've already said that, there is a hatch on the other side there. You can see the big, wide, vintage figure peg holes inside that as well, which is just a blast from the past. And also, by all accounts, this is an old battery compartment. So it is a relic, or it has the remnants of its former life. But despite the fact that this is a huge vehicle, and when you open the wings and everything, it's massive. It was always massive. Tall, at least. But the one problem with it is this, the cockpit. If I take this off, you'll see. There we are, finally. So there you are, only 2 seats available, just like the ATA had, and also the Millennium Falcon in terms of those vehicles in the 80s. But as you know from Return of the Jedi, you could get more than 2 in the cockpit. Just like the ATA over there, there was obviously the pilot and co-pilot, if you will, but in the background you had Luke, Leia, the droids. In the back, you could probably put a droid Now, forced perspective here suggests that maybe there is space, but just to show you how little space there is, if I put this droid in here now, whoa, you'll see how little that space is. But if you took him out, forced perspective makes it look kind of like maybe it goes into a larger space at the back, but no, trust me, it isn't. But what they really need to do for a Haslab is this iconic vehicle, bring it back. Yes, it would be big, because I remember the blacked out Ewok saying that on a live stream or sometime when I spoke to him. He said it'd probably be a bit too big. But, well, I think that they could certainly make it maybe a little bit taller, a little bit wider when you've got the wings down. Let me just do that now, actually. Yeah, look at that. See? It's a huge vehicle. I think that what they need to do is just ever so slightly upscale the wings. They'd have to, because what I want them to do is make that cockpit bigger. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't care how they do it. But I would love them to do it. And it would be a wonderful Haslab. Iconic vehicle. 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, although it probably won't happen by next year. But, and God, would it sell? I think it would. Would it be too big? I don't know. I mean, look how big it is compared to the Falcon. It actually stretches wider than the Falcon there, the big Millennium Falcon. And then you've got over there another Haslab Delight. And then you've got this. That's a big piece. You know, I don't know. They wouldn't really have to do much to it. Just make that bigger. Possibly it would just have to be extended a little bit wider, maybe taller. But at the end of the day, most people are going to display it like I display mine, which is with the wings up. Just like that. I had to put the camera down to do that. But anyway, you get my point. What do you think? I think they could make something out of that. You know, they could extend that. Make it fractionally taller, maybe. Well, they'd have to stabilize it. But what I really want is a lovely. Imagine the cockpit on that. Now the cockpit could probably be about the same sort of size as that. I mean, the nose of this. Let's put it side by side. I mean, that, as you know, accommodates 4. I don't know, man. That can fit 4. I don't know. Give it some more height. I mean, that's big. See. Just make the cockpit bigger and then deal with the rest. I don't think that the wings would have to go necessarily too much taller than they are now, but indeed they probably would have to in the interest of balance. But I just think what a great piece that would be for a Haslab. Also, the plastic on this, I'm not quite sure. I haven't got an example from the 1980s, but it's quite a flimsy plastic that. Seems a very brittle light. Can you hear it? It's not very rubbery. It's very sort of. I think if I put pressure on that, it would crack. So they could remake the whole thing, and oh, what a vehicle it would be. So let me know your thoughts on that one, ladies and gentlemen. It has, as the years go by, risen up the ranks for what I want for a Haslab. There was a period of time I actually wanted the T-4. I've sort of changed my mind on that now. They've given us the T-4 playset over there, but I also still would love a Sandcrawler. And again, pointing my camera at the barge, I always figured that they could maybe do the same again as they did for the barge, but make it a double-decker barge, and then you'd have a Sandcrawler. But again, that would be huge. But I think that this is a real possibility. I have no crystal ball. I have no tip-offs. It's just a thought, and it's a desire. I think it's a great vehicle, and I know a load of you would love that. Return of the Jedi is just a treasure trove of amazing vehicles, creatures, aliens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only One. Out.